Hello and welcome to And the Razzie Goes To. I'm Will Purpura.
I'm Laura Merli.
And today we're talking about Howard the Duck, 1986.
That's right.
Won the Razzie Award. It's actually tied this year with, I guess we'll do the tie winner
Can you
next
believe?
week. But 86 was a big year because you couldn't even fit one winner in the year. It was just too good.
There were multiple worst things that happened that year.
There was a lot of bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Reagan,
Yeah.
that was bad.
Howard the Duck, apparently before he became what he was, ultimately, which was a failed film legend, he was a successful comic book hero, so much so that people actually had a lot of write-in votes for president. Howard the Duck.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'd like to see.
The original Duck Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty, right. This is one of the few Duck movies. I looked it up. I tried to find other Duck movies, and there really are not a lot.
Yeah. But what is extremely striking about this is the first ever Marvel movie.
Yeah, and the best.
In your opinion.
Yeah, it's the first Marvel film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty incredible.
Yeah. It's wild that they went with this.
Maybe because like there are no powers per se, and the special effects weren't up to code. They were like, I think we can get a duck to move. Like that seems doable as opposed to like Spider-Man.
They weren't quite ready to scale large buildings yet.
Yeah, they couldn't do that, but we're like, we can put someone in a duck outfit.
Have them just wander around.
Just walk around, getting into adventures, drive cars and carts and planes.
And planes.
There's a lot, yeah.
Yeah. When I looked this up, so it's based on a comic book, like we said. The one prompt that the creators of the comic book were given was, don't make him look too much like Donald Duck. They look him up. He looks just like Donald Duck.
Exactly like Donald Duck.
Just yellow instead of white. And then in the movie, he's white, but his shape is all weird.
Yeah, and he's got a hat in the comics, I think, and that's classic Donald.
How hard is it to draw another duck?
I mean, you only have so much to go by. You got to like make it look like a duck.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a wisecracking duck?
I believe so.
Okay.
In this movie, he didn't strike me as wisecracking, but when I was reading up on the comic and what people liked about it, apparently it was very satirical about society, and he was super witty and wisecracking and kind of hard-boiled. He even becomes a detective later on. I didn't get much personality from this duck.
No, that sounds more fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And he doesn't have any wisecracks. He's not a very good detective.
No, he's sometimes creepy.
Very creepy. From scene one, he's perving out on some pornography magazines.
Yeah. So we open in Duck World, which is a world quite like our own, except instead of the dominant species having evolved from apes, they've evolved from duck. Literally nothing else is different. Like, we give a little tour of his apartment and we see all this 80s media just with ducks in it, including Raiders of the Lost Ark. It has got a duck in it, which makes you think, there are Nazis in that movie. Are we to believe there are Nazis in Duck World?
Wow, I didn't even think about that. That's scary. That there's some like duck fascism going on.
Yeah.
And maybe in the satirical comic books, they address some of that stuff. But yeah, I also thought when they were panning across, like he's got a lot of movie posters. And I was like, is he a movie star in this world?
I thought the same thing, because they really did not do unique character designs for the ducks. All the ducks look exactly the same. So, yeah, when they panned to all these shots of him, I was like, oh, is he watching himself? Does he have his own poster on the wall?
No, in fact, he's a copywriter, right? Yeah, so
he's in advertising.
Yeah, so I guess he just has a lot of movie posters around his house. Maybe one or two I'd understand, but he had like multiple. This is just to show us, this is just the inside jokes of the time, like, hey, it's Flashdance, but with a duck.
Yeah, but it's one of those jokes that's just referencing the thing and not making any sort of like bigger comment on it. It's just, here's the thing with a duck.
Yeah, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, but I think it's like Quackers or something like that of the Lost Ark. It's just some pun, but he's just doing the same thing. There's nothing different about the duck version of this.
Yeah. And then he's watching TV, just normal TV shows, but with ducks in it. And then he opens up the mail and he's got a Playbill magazine instead of Playboy. And it's just naked girl ducks. And immediately I was like, isn't this a kid's movie?
So I think that probably led to a lot of the failure because if you look on the cover, it's like a cartoon duck coming out of an egg. It's like, this is fun. Even though the duck is smoking a cigar, a lot of cartoon characters smoke a cigar. It doesn't mean it's like adult.
At that time period, you could have candy cigarettes marketed to kids.
That's right. Probably a lot of parents took their kids to this movie and like, what the hell is going on? What am I watching?
Yeah, because there was a lot of weird sex jokes in this.
Yeah.
Almost immediately after he's like looking at essentially duck porn, his chair gets like pulled through the wall and he gets pulled into this girl's apartment who's a female duck who's sitting in a bathtub like la la la, and we just see her duck boobs that look like human boobs.
Yeah. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you showing us this?
No, it wasn't funny. It was just uncomfortable to see.
Yeah.
And then she also, I think, had a towel on her head.
Yes.
With her duck boobs out and then her underself in water.
Felt creepy.
Definitely felt creepy.
Yeah.
And then busted through out the other side of the building, through the universe, lands in an alley in Cleveland. And then we see these punks leering over him like, ooh. We're kind of like, why is this their first reaction? Why are they threatening the duck?
Why? Yeah, they see everybody doesn't act like there's a duck in front of them. They're like, they see a duck and they're like, let's mug him. It's like, it's a duck. Don't you have questions? Like, what the hell's this duck doing here?
Yeah. And well, the thing is, some people have normal reactions, but everyone's reactions are so varied in a very confusing way where you're like, what is the tone of this movie?
Right. Yeah.
So they leer at him and then you think he's going to get mugged or something, but then they grab him and one of them's like, all right, looks like you found yourself a date. To get into this fun music club, everybody needs to bring a date. So now you got one.
I've never heard of that in a club.
I've never heard of that. Well, I have heard of clubs that are like, there's only a certain amount of dudes allowed.
Oh, yeah.
Because they want more chicks. But he's a boy duck.
This is like a punk rock club, though. It's
Yes.
not. It's like people are just there to see a band.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for this circumstance.
No.
But he carries the duck in. And then security is like, oh, I see a kid in a costume and I know that it's a kid in a costume.
Like if that was a kid in the costume, that'd be like a $20,000 costume.
Yes.
It's so like realistic looking.
But also, if it was a kid in the costume, his reaction is to pick up the kid and literally throw him into the street onto the pavement.
Yes.
You would get sued if that was a kid.
That could hurt a kid really badly.
Oh, yeah.
Don't do that.
No, that's
Yeah.
not a way you remove a kid from a club.
Right.
Yeah.
I would still have nobody has questions in this movie. Even if it was a kid, it would be like, okay, why did you sneak into this club dressed like a duck? What are you doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I just want to note that there was a couple actors in the costume. I thought it was an animatronic. I guess in watching from today's point of view, we're not used to people in suits.
Yeah.
There were two main actors that got into the suit. One was an adult little person and one was an actual 12-year-old boy.
I heard about this.
Which is extra disturbing to me since this movie is so sexual.
Yeah, and I think they must have swapped him out for like some of the more adult scenes. At least I think.
Would hope so.
Yeah.
But it's unclear. I heard that eventually they started using the older actor more and more, and they even reshot a lot of stuff that had the younger actor in it just because their movements were so different that it was like making editing seem weird.
How is it not child abuse, though, to put a kid in a duck outfit? Like, it's got to be hot in that outfit. That's got to be against all types of laws.
Well, they were saying that it definitely delayed production because it would take so many hours to get him in the suit. And then a lot of times he'd be like, I have to go to the bathroom. So then they'd have to take him out of the suit and then they'd have to start all over again.
So why wouldn't they just from the very beginning hire an adult?
Yes.
You know, that's just seems like the first of many errors.
Yeah, it does seem like common sense for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, Howard gets thrown out of the club.
Mm-hmm.
He's hanging out in an alley. And it keeps cutting back to the inside this like punk rock kind of gritty club. There's a female rock band headed by a woman named Beverly. She's singing a very forgettable song. She comes out after her set and is walking down the alley, and these two creepy dudes pop up. It's kind of implied that they're gonna essay her. They're like being very handsy and like pushing her against the garbage can or something. So Howard jumps out of the garbage can and is like, I know Cluck Fu.
Cluck Fu.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this is a thing that was in the comics because I Googled or looked up what powers does he have, which is none. But he does have Cluck Fu.
Mm-hmm.
So that's his. So I guess
he trained.
Yeah, this is the only time I think they show it in the movie. Maybe there's another time later.
Yeah, later on there's a little bit.
But Cluck Fu is basically just hitting people.
Yes.
It's nothing
It doesn't
crazy.
appear to have any intense technique.
No, and it's like just a slap on the back or whatever he's doing.
Yeah, so he takes on these two grown men.
Yeah.
Somehow he wins.
He did it.
Yeah, he did it. And Beverly's like, well, thanks. And then she's like, wait, you're a duck. And he's like, where am I? I'm not supposed to be here. And she's just like, well, we're on the corner of this street and that street, and the bus is like over there.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, where am I in the bigger sense? And she's like, Cleveland. And he goes, Cleveland. Planet Cleveland?
She's like, no, not a planet, a city.
And then she goes, we're on Earth, I think.
Why did she say
Yeah, she seems a little bit confused about where she is.
I think everyone knows it's Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not controversial.
No.
And so they part ways, but it's raining. And then this weird 80s like synth music comes on that's like, they're going apart, but they could have been friends, and they're going to separate locations. And then they just keep looking back at each other through the rain.
Yeah.
And finally she's like, hey, do you have anywhere to go? And he's like, no, why would I be in Cleveland if I did? Which is a weird joke for him to make because he doesn't know anything about Cleveland yet.
No, yeah. I mean, Cleveland is not a punchline to him.
No.
No.
So she's like, all right, you can come home with me. Mm-hmm. And she lives in this dingy, like, warehouse.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
It's humongous.
Yeah. Lives alone. Mm-hmm. Pretty sweet deal.
Yeah, pretty good. She's like, so what do you eat or drink? And he's like, beer. Which, by the way, is the only thing that he consumes this entire movie is
just
beer.
Yeah. So he's a beer drinking, cigar smoking duck.
Yes.
Still not a lot of shock coming from her. Like I have a talking duck.
No.
In my apartment right now.
You would think she'd have more questions about what his life was like and stuff like that. And when he tells her like, oh, it's just this, it's the same as your planet. And she's like, what do you do? And he's like, advertising. But I wanted to do music like you. She's like, oh, you're a sellout.
She got him there.
Yeah.
He is.
He is working for the man.
Yeah. He used to be in a band. There's pictures of him in a band in the little montage in the beginning.
Yeah. So she gives him a place to sleep for the night, and then she goes through all his stuff, which I thought was a little weird.
Oh, yeah.
She
goes through the wallet.
Yeah, she opens up his wallet.
Right.
And in there is, dollars with a duck face. And then also a condom that I want to note is just loose.
It's no wrapper.
Yeah, no wrapper.
Yeah.
He's going to put that in somebody after it's like all touching the inside of all his stuff.
Touching cash.
Yeah.
It's disturbing.
Ducks famously have corkscrew penises.
Yeah, so they got that wrong too.
Yes.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it could be for a corkscrew.
No, it couldn't
Maybe
have
it
been.
was, but
Maybe that's what they were trying to say. They're like, hey, that's what this duck's genitals look like. Heads
Mhm.
up.
Yeah. And she just goes, "Oh, Howard."
Yeah.
She comes up with a cutesy nickname for him. She starts calling him Ducky, which
Yeah.
seems kind of weird.
It is a little weird. Yeah.
Like if you went to another planet and all of a sudden they were like, "Humany, persony."
Yeah, and that's another problem I have is that she opens up the wallet and he's got a gift card or a credit card for Blooming Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on in this world where, like, over here, it's not called Blooming Humans?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, all of our stuff
Yeah.
is not human punned stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but everything
No.
there is duck stuff.
We're not like you constantly need to be told that this product is for people.
Right.
We just
exactly.
kind of assume if it's in people's stores that it's for people.
Right, but in the duck universe, it's duck everything.
Mm-hmm. Or
Bloom-
feather or quack. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have two moons. I forget.
Yes.
I don't know.
That I thought was cool.
That looked good.
Mm-hmm.
That looked good.
Yeah.
I think we should have stayed on the duck planet. I actually think that would have been interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like a duck detective.
It would have been less disturbing in terms of like the sexual stuff if it
Yeah.
was just duck on duck.
That would have been
But
a little
it's set
more.
up pretty early that
Yeah.
him and Beverly are going to be a thing. And the whole time you're just like, that shouldn't be okay.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that he's as smart as a person, but he's still not a person.
It's a duck.
Yeah.
There's no getting around that.
But yeah, pretty early on, she's like, "Ooh, Ducky." She's like watching him sleep.
Yeah. Well, I didn't like that. That
No.
was weird. Yeah.
She's just staring at him
Yeah.
in the middle of the night. So then the next day, she's like, "I'm going to take you to my friend who's a scientist. So maybe he can figure out how to get you back to your planet."
Mhm.
And she takes him to this guy who's a huge creep. Who's just like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
duck."
Yeah.
And
Super into the duck.
yeah,
Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins. He says all this weird shit to Howard. So Howard's like, "I'm out of here."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I don't even want to talk to you anymore." So he goes to the unemployment office.
Right.
And this woman has a truly insane reaction to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's giving him a job. Why?
She's like, "I'm the lady people go to when they're completely unemployable. And a lot of people take advantage of the system by coming in dressed all weird. And they think that they're not going to be employable and then they're just going to get benefits. But I give anyone a job." And then she was like, "You think just because you're looking controversial, I'm not going to be able to get you a job?" And I was like, "Controversial?
I wouldn't call it that.
No."
No. But it gives me an idea. I should dress like a duck my next job interview.
Yeah.
And just be like, "Come on,
Yeah.
look at where I'm willing to go to show you I'm qualified."
Yeah, I hear ducks can get jobs.
Yeah, as evidenced by this film, because he gets a job immediately,
At a brothel,
like a sex club.
which I didn't think was legal at the time.
I didn't think so. I don't think those jobs are going through an employment office.
You
Yeah.
get them through the government?
I don't think so. I think you have to like know somebody to get in there.
That's what I was
yeah.
thinking too.
Yeah.
That's like the employment officer being like, "Here's your job, like selling weed to high schoolers."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's cleaning up this like sex dungeon.
Yeah.
And his boss is being really annoying and complaining. His boss of the dungeon. It's like a spa, more like a spa. And there's like a bunch of different rooms that people can get freaky in. There's like a sauna, there's a hot tub. And then there's this room that's just like a pool of mud.
It's a mud bath.
And I was thinking, like, are people doing it in the mud?
I think so, yeah.
That has to be really bad for you.
I think so. I think
Getting mud in your holes?
that's not
pushing
hygienic.
it in?
Not good.
That we can't be doing that.
No, no.
So then Howard's pissed off that his boss isn't treating him well, so he pushes him in the mud bath. And the guy's like, blah, 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 blah. So then he goes back to find Beverly. Beverly's like playing a show, and he overhears her manager saying like super creepy stuff about her, how he's gonna like get Beverly to sleep with him, and he's not giving her the money that she's owed or the band's owed. So Howard steps up, fights the guy and his like 3 associates. These are 4 grown men.
More quack foo.
More quack foo.
Yeah.
He neutralizes the guy because the guy has these big earrings on, and he takes an ice pick and puts it through the earring and basically like sticks him to the bar.
Right.
And then so the guy agrees to give him the money that he owes Beverly, and that Howard can be the new manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
so now he's managing a rock band.
Yes. Well, that's the agreement. But then when he goes back to Beverly's place, she's like, you should be the new manager.
Right.
And he acts as if this is not the plan after all. And he's like, I don't know if I really want to do that. And then she comes out of the bathroom with no pants on and is very uncomfortably just like crawling all over the place in a seductive way. Howard's like, I've learned to appreciate the human female form. And he's saying all these like creepy, weird stuff. And then she's like, get in bed with me and we'll watch a game show. What is it? It's like,
oh, yeah.
It's something not sexual at all.
Well, yeah, what game show?
It's not
Is
like
Wheel
Sex
of Fortune?
Wheel. Yeah.
Sex Wheel of Fortune. Yeah.
Yeah. But so he crawls into bed with her. She's like, yeah, my life is going well, except my career is going nowhere and I can't find a man. And he's like, well, how about instead of a man, you get an animal? And she's like, oh, how about that? And
this is so uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then she starts like rubbing him, and he's like, actually, I was just joking. I don't want to do it with you, a human woman. and
a rare moment of clarity from the alien duck.
Yeah. And then she won't take no for an answer. She just like keeps feeling him up, which was extremely uncomfortable. I was like, Beverly, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You gotta stop. No means no.
Yeah.
From animals or people. So he's like, no. And then she's like, come on. And she goes to like take the rest of her clothes off. And it's just very uncomfortable. And somehow they're both like, okay, actually, let's not do it. Yeah. That was kind of weird. So they turn the lights off and go to sleep. And then her crazy like scientist guy, Tim Robbins,
they walk into the apartment.
Yeah, just busts in the door with his scientist friends.
Right.
Well, at first they're like, ew, what are you doing?
Yeah, what's going on in here?
Yeah.
They do kiss.
Yes. Yeah. They do kiss.
Yeah.
And I think the scientist guys see them kiss.
And they're like, just like, what the hell's going on here?
I heard there was an alien here and you're doing it? Like, what's going on?
That's the other thing is no one's pointing at, she is not reacting to the fact that he's a duck, one, but also he's an alien.
Yes.
He's from another planet. Like, that should be like a bombshell. Like, oh my God, there's life on other planets. And also, I don't know how she knows Tim Robbins and vice versa.
No.
How did these two connect?
Yeah,
They're
it's
so
very
different.
unclear. Yeah, their worlds you wouldn't think would overlap at all.
No, and he's like lame and like all over the place and fumbling, and it's like she's like a cool punk rock person. How's this happening? Yeah,
I don't know, but so he brings all his scientist friends over, and he's like, "Give me one of the feathers," and he's like, "No, I'm not gonna give you one of my feathers."
Right.
So he just grabs a feather from his butt and runs out. And Howard's like, I feel ashamed.
I felt bad for him.
I felt bad for him, but it was just also so strange.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? What's going on?
Yeah. They don't need to take a feather from him. They have an identical feather back at the place. And it's like, you just have to look at him and go, yeah, that feather came from him.
Yeah. So later on, they come back and they're like, okay, we were running this crazy experiment with a giant laser where we were shooting other planets and something went wrong. So a little duck feather came down, and you must have come down 2 miles away. Now, if that was the case, if they were shooting a crazy big space laser and something went down and they got a single duck feather, when he first heard that she found an alien duck, why wasn't that his first thought?
Yeah.
That was connected in some way?
Right.
It took him like weeks because Howard then like fought with her and left and got a job, and then he quit the job and he came back, and it took him weeks to connect, like, maybe this alien duck is related to the alien duck feather from my failed experiment.
Yeah, it took him way too long to piece that together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're right, like, why would he need to they're like, we compared the feathers and they're genetically the same. But also the laser threw him down 2 miles away. Why would it throw a single one of his feathers down in the lab? That also doesn't make any sense.
And why only him? Why was he the only person, like duck, whatever, drawn out? Like, it just, I don't know. It's kind of, I guess the whole thing's preposterous, but I needed a little more than that.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense if, like, maybe someone got switched, which also would have been a more interesting thing.
Or maybe if they had him appear in the lab and he got freaked out and ran out of the lab and then met Beverly. Like, why did they have him be thrown 2 miles away?
Yes, right.
Then they're like, okay, we think that we can send you back home by just pressing reverse on this giant laser.
Stands to reason. Yeah. Put it in reverse.
And he's like, all right, I want to go home.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tired of this place. So they go to take him home. Something else goes wrong with the laser. One of the scientists gets very clearly infected with a demonic alien.
Yeah.
It's like possessing, like his whole like demeanor changes. He looks crazy. He's literally like, I am a demon from another planet now. I'm just in his body. And they all go, huh, you're so silly. You're just sick.
Yeah.
Why don't we go to a diner?
Yeah, I couldn't figure out why they went to that diner.
No.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre because if we were in a normal universe where there were no aliens, fine.
Yeah.
You don't believe that someone's an alien demon at first. We're in a universe where you believe that this duck alien came through a laser, but you don't believe that a different alien infected that guy's body. You think that's completely impossible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. So they go to this diner. The guy is turning more and more demonic, and he's telling them over and over again that he's going to kill them all, and they're just like, okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, you're a silly goose.
Yeah.
And then these like southern guys who are at the diner come over and they start harassing Howard and Beverly and the demon guy, and they're just like, ugh, what's that, a duck? Is that a duck puppet? I bet you're a ventriloquist and you're making him say stuff. And
this
Howard...
was the first time where I was like, that's a good guess of what's going on here. Like,
but he said, but the thing is, Howard is sitting next to Beverly.
Yeah.
It would make sense if they thought she was a ventriloquist. He's sitting on the other side of the booth.
Yeah, why would they assume him?
How could he be a ventriloquist unless his foot is inside Howard underneath the table?
That wouldn't, that doesn't make sense. So they're dumb.
Yes, they're dumb. So they get into a fight. And the waitstaff is like, ugh, there's fights here all the time, which I thought was kind of funny. But the Southern people decide they're going to eat Howard, even though they think he's a puppet.
Yeah.
And
doesn't make, yeah.
Also, there's no way they could still think he's a puppet because they take him away from the person they thought was being the ventriloquist, and he's still talking and
he's
yelling.
Swinging from the chandelier, and he's doing all these things. So clearly, it's not a puppet.
And they don't have any moment of realization where they're like, wow, this is a humanoid duck. They're just like, ugh, let's eat him.
Yeah.
So they tie him down, and they start pouring lettuce on him. Which is very strange because that's not how you cook anything,
And
right?
like very small shreds of lettuce.
Very
Like
small.
they're like, put this on them.
Yeah, like the ittiest bittiest little pieces of lettuce.
And he's freaking out. He's like, oh no, the lettuce.
The lettuce, yeah. And the demon doctor guy has some sort of like disc that he puts into the laser that will like make it start. And Howard somehow like grabs that disc. So when Howard's being prepped to eat, he's like, they're going to kill me and I have the disc. So the demon guy gets up and he kills all of them with his like laser. He's got lasers that can shoot out of him.
Uh-huh.
And then the demon guy's like, this is what I'm going to do. I need more bodies to fill with other demon aliens, and we're going to take over the world, and we're going to kill you. So I'm going to take Beverly to do that.
Classic scheme.
Classic, yeah. And Howard's like, but the demon runs out. He grabs just like a truck.
Yeah.
Like a big, like 18-wheeler. And he drives with Beverly. It turns out that this type of demon alien lives off of electricity.
Oh, yeah.
So he actually has a tentacle that comes out of his mouth, and you don't know what he's going to do with that. And then he shoves it in the cigarette lighter that used to be in cars.
Yeah. And
it charges him, and he's like, could use even more electricity.
Right.
Yeah, so he goes to a nuclear facility.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's like, there's a lot of power in there.
There's a lot of electricity there. Things are knocking into each other and creating sparks, and I'm going to get in on it.
And this is like an hour 20 into the movie, and it's like, oh, okay, so this is what the movie's about now?
The movie is so long.
It's too long.
And it has like 10 different sequences that seem like a climactic action sequence that then turns out to not be the climactic action sequence. And then there's another one, and another one, and another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like, enough already.
Right.
And luckily, at the nuclear plant, they're giving a tour that he can just get in on.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's like, great.
Yeah.
Now show me where everything is.
He's like drooling and like he's like, ah, and they just like let him into the nuclear plant. They give him a little hard hat and a yellow jacket that says visitor on it.
Yeah.
So then obviously he kills everybody. He sucks all the electricity from the nuclear plant. So he gets even like stronger and shinier and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Howard runs outside. He sees Tim Robbins' character, the nerdy scientist guy, has been arrested by the police. And he's like, isn't it cool that I've been arrested? That's cool for me. Something I wanted to happen. And Howard's like, you have to help me save Beverly. So then he's like, how do I get out of this cop car? And luckily the police didn't lock the car and aren't around.
Yeah.
So, and they left the window open.
Of
so
course.
He climbs out of the window, and then Howard also just opens the door. And they're like, wow, so many ways to get out of a cop car.
Yeah, super easy.
Yeah. And then they go around the side of the building, and they're like, some hobbyist built this shitty plane. I guess we'll use this. It looks like a Wright Brothers type situation, like a double bicycle with like wings and stuff.
Like when you have to pedal the plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And neither of them know how to fly a plane.
No.
But Tim's like, you're a duck. Just remember how to fly.
And he's like, use your fly instinct.
So they
and it works.
It does work. They fly badly, like kind of zigzagging all over the place. And they get chased by the cops. The cops are not shooting them. They're just kind of driving after this like pretty slow moving plane.
Like,
and
hey, get back here.
Yeah, and just crashing into everything. They're driving into the water. They're like, I was like, this sequence must have been so expensive to film.
I know, yeah. And it's just like there's no energy to it.
No.
It's just like you're watching like, oh.
No, and at one point there's a problem with the plane, and it turns, and I was like, how are these people supposed to, neither of them know anything about planes. And he's like, Tim, get up there, solve the plane problem. And he's like, okay. And he gets up there, and there's just a very clear, obvious like tube that needs to be plugged into another tube.
Yeah, right.
And it takes him like 10 minutes because the plane is shaking to plug in the tube. And then he does it, and they're fine.
Right.
They go back to the laser place, and the demon is like very slowly setting up the situation where he's tied Beverly down.
Yeah.
They are like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to stop this? And they're like, we need a really big weapon. And there just happens to be a super big weapon right next to the laser. It's got a lock on it. What do we do? So they just shoot it and they get it out.
Yeah.
It's like a huge gun on like one of those slow moving like airport shuttle cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, we got to really stealthily go out with this. And then Howard's like, yeah. And he accidentally hits the gas and just like, they go out.
Yeah.
There they are.
Mm-hmm.
So they get into a really long fight sequence with this demon. The aliens are about to come down and infect Beverly. And normally, just in the nick of time in these movies, like they blow something up. This, he's like counting down to the aliens coming in.
Yeah.
And they get down, they're like 3, 2, 1, arrival, and then he shoots.
Right.
And somehow it still works.
Yeah. But he waits until the last millisecond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arrival now. Because they're like sitting in the tube,
Yeah.
like the demons. They're like,
We're ready.
We're ready.
Yeah.
We're ready to get in there.
And then they just go away.
Yes.
They're like, ah.
Yeah.
Is this before or after the scientist transforms into the real?
That was after.
That is after. Okay.
So yeah, so the scientist is getting more and more demon-like. He just turns into a full-on claymation thing.
Yeah, which looks like 100 times better than Howard the Duck.
Yes.
It looks like it's dated, but it looks
But they definitely
interesting.
spend a lot of time on it. It does look interesting. It looks gross, but interesting.
And it's like, why didn't you? They must have looked at them and been like, oh, we should have done this for the duck.
Yes.
This was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Howard defeats all the like evil demon, alien, whatever. The doctor who is possessed stands up and is just like, well, I'm not possessed anymore.
And he gets his hair back and he like his
skin
transformation.
looks great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like his transformation totally changed his face and his hair. And now he's just back.
Yeah, it looks like nothing happened.
Yeah.
Howard is like knocked unconscious and they go over to him and they're like, oh no, like, is he dead? And Beverly's like getting all emotional. And then Howard wakes up and he does this like alien voice. And she's like freaking out, like, oh my God, he's going to be possessed. And he just coughs and is like, oh, sorry, it's really dusty in here with everything I blew up. But I was making a joke too. Was that funny? And she's like, haha, Howard. And I was like, that's not funny.
Everybody almost died.
A lot of people did die.
A lot of people did die, in fact. Yeah.
If you're pretending to be an alien, how do you know before you're like, it's a bit, she doesn't shoot you?
Yeah. Oh, one more piece to this is that Howard has to make a sacrifice by blowing it up because they're like, if you blow this up, you'll never be able to go back to Duck World or whatever. And he goes, so long, Duck World. I think he says Duck World. I think he says so long, Duck World, which is what it's called.
The thing with that is I do think from a script writing perspective, it was supposed to be a big emotional moment, but it just didn't hit because if he didn't blow it up, the aliens were just going to kill them all. So he wasn't getting back to Duck World anyway. Right.
I think he, no matter what, you have to make that decision. And I think they built it once. They probably could build it again.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
This small group of scientists who seem pretty dumb as shit built this laser.
So I think it was an easy decision on his part. It was either that or get killed.
Yes.
Yeah. So...
Yeah.
But I think that was like their way of like Howard the Duck staying for sequel.
Yeah. Well, apparently in the comic books, originally they wanted to kill him off pretty early because they didn't think the character was like that important or had legs.
Oh, yeah.
And they had him drop into some sort of abyss. And people were so angry. They got so many letters that were like, bring back the duck.
Wow.
That they brought him back.
Where were they on this movie? Like they didn't want to show up? Well, I guess the movie let them down, but it didn't seem like the Howard the Duck fans swarmed to the theater.
No, what the impression that I got of the situation online was that the comic was much grittier and
Yeah.
had more to say about like society and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, and they just didn't get that from this movie, which those themes didn't no
No.
like heavy themes really came across in this movie.
No, I don't even know what the message is or the point.
No. Oh, and one other thing that I forgot to say before is so he's in the unemployment office.
Oh yeah.
And the woman is like berating him for being weird. And then she bends over to pick up some
Oh my God.
papers.
Yeah.
And there's a big close up on her butt. And Howard the Duck goes, oh, and he leans out to bite her ass.
Yeah. What the hell was that?
And then she turns around at the last second and he just like moves back like he didn't mean to do that. And it's like, why is everyone in this movie a creep?
Yeah, and why are they making like this is not the villain. This is the hero.
Yeah,
like it's not like the punks in the
but
street.
Beverly's a creep. The punks are a creep.
That's
her
true
manager's
too, yeah.
a creep. Howard's a creep. Like literally everyone. Like what is that?
It makes you think what's going on with George Lucas, who is like a big part of the creative aspect of this. Like he
didn't write the script though.
Right. Yeah. Well, whoever did.
Good friends of his did, who were actually a husband and wife couple, which you wouldn't expect.
So they're the two that they wrote American Graffiti together. And then he was going to follow it up with this. Like, I think he might have seen this comic before Star Wars, which makes you think, like, what if he did this before Star Wars?
Oh, yeah. We never would have had Star Wars.
Yeah, it would be like you never would have heard from him again. But, yeah, why would they choose to make everybody here creepy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see having like a creep or two. You know, in the real world, we got creep. And even like the scientist, like Tim's character, he also is creepy sometimes.
He is also creepy.
Yeah. He's like hitting on Beverly in like a weird way.
Yeah. Everybody here is just like really pervy and weird.
But not even in a funny way, just in a way where you're like, oh.
I wasn't, like even when like the beginning thing when he breaks out the magazine, I was like, this is kind of depressing me.
Yes.
Like watching a duck alone opening a porno mag. I'm just getting, this is bumming me out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when the employment office, it was like, what are you doing? What's going on here?
Yeah, he supposedly lives in the same world that we live in. So in his world, presumably, it's also not okay to just bite someone's ass when they bend over.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely not for kids, but also maybe not for adults because it's like, who is this for?
No. Well, that's the shame of it is I think without all the weird sex stuff, kids would really like this movie. But I don't think there's enough substance to it or enough humor in it for adults to like the movie. So then it is like a movie without an audience.
It's not fun enough. It's not silly enough. It's not serious enough. It's just, and it feels like the sex stuff, it's like they want to show, oh, this is like an adult crazy duck. So, but that's the only thing they could think of to do with this guy is to make him into like a creepy, a creeper.
Yeah, he's not even saying anything that's like deep or witty. It's just creepy.
Yeah. So the finals, we're up to like the final scene, right? Because there's one more scene.
Oh yeah. It ends where they're in a club. They're in the club from the beginning.
Yeah.
And Beverly's singing a new song with her band that's about Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
And how he's so funky and fun.
Yeah.
And then Howard is in the band. He's a manager and also in the band, which seems like kind of a conflict of interest.
He accidentally stumbles on stage, and Tim Robbins, who's also like a stage manager now, Tim Robbins is like the stage manager, and gives him
full-time scientist, part-time stage manager.
Gives him a guitar, and he goes, "What do I do with this?" Howard says, and he goes, "Rock and roll with it." And then Howard starts playing a solo on the guitar. It's like, you could, if you showed us that you could do this from the beginning, this would have been a totally different movie.
But I felt like the song went on for a really long time,
yeah.
especially at the end of a very long movie, and it wasn't that fun of a song.
No, I think they were hoping it would it would catch on. It was going to be
Mhm.
like the theme song of the year, but no,
No.
it wasn't good. But that's the end of it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So do you think this deserved a Razzie?
Well, I mean, this didn't. Yeah, it didn't work on any level. I don't know what you would have done, but the movie I kept thinking about is just 2 years later, you got Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and I think that's like it's adult without being too adult. That movie, and it is like a little noirish. You understand the rules of the world like immediately. Like there's Toon World and then there's a regular world, and you see how the animation mixes in with the live action. They could have done something like that. But I think the people who were making it were a little humorless.
Yes.
Namely George Lucas, who it seemed to have his like fingerprints all over the place with this one, and wanted to, like, he doesn't strike me as somebody who's very funny.
Yeah, there was only a couple lines that made me chuckle, and I'm blanking on what they were right now because they weren't super memorable. There was a lot of jokes, a lot of references to sex, but they weren't funny. Like,
Yes.
I think you can't just like reference it.
No.
Like, you can't just be like, this duck fucks. And
Yeah.
yeah. But then he doesn't want to fuck. And then Beverly's being creepy to him. And it's like, how are we supposed to feel about this?
Yeah. Who are we? What's supposed to be our feelings about this very awkward encounter?
Yeah, and it has the problem that a lot of action movies have, where it has two characters that they're pushing to be a couple that really cares about each other enough that they're sacrificing their safety and well-being for each other in a lot of these action sequences, but they don't actually seem to bond in any real way or really care about each other. They have like music in common, but we don't see them playing together till the end.
Yeah.
We only see her like chatting about music with him right before she like sexually harasses him. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's like, you saved me from getting essayed in the alley, so I'm going to bring you back to my house and do weird stuff to you. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
And then later on in an action sequence, after he's rejected her, she's like, that's my boyfriend. And it's like, what? When did that happen? I don't think he agreed to that.
No, that's never been established. No, you're not dating. No. Yeah, very bizarre. A lot of weird choices. I mean, like, I didn't see the other. I think I say that every time. I didn't see the other movie. There's a reason why nobody sees these movies, although we saw it on Tubi.
Yes. Shout out to Tubi.
Future sponsor. Tubi. God, I love Tubi.
Purple and yellow.
It's just great.
Beautiful.
It's just so good. I don't know what could have made it work, but I just think like whatever made Roger Rabbit work. Don't try to make a love connection with him and the human person. I think that was weird. That was a weird choice.
Yeah, I think if that was gonna work, I think they needed a more specific personality for Howard. I really wasn't sure what they were going for with his character, because he just had like odd reactions to things. There were points where he was just like annoyed by the situation and he'd just be like, stop looking at me. Yeah, I'm a duck. And I think if he was like, if that was heightened even more, so maybe he was like a Larry David type who's just like over the situation, that could have been fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, he needed a bigger personality. Like, he's a duck.
He's a duck, yeah. Well, so another problem this movie has is that they decided to add the voice of the duck after filming.
Yes.
So they were like filming it and then they added the voice. And one of the people that they hired was Robin Williams. So he was going to do the voice of the duck. and he quit because he was like, I can't do anything with this because you filmed it already.
Yeah.
So he couldn't like have a persona, which, if they recorded the voice first and maybe had whoever they picked ad lib and figure out a character and then build from there, they might have had a shot. The costume is a big part that doesn't work. The costuming, like maybe if they went with a stop motion, like with the other thing, that would have helped. Have like an actual story.
Yeah.
Like what would happen if this duck landed on the planet? Like it wouldn't just be like figure out how to get him back onto the planet and then something else coincidentally falls through. That's not even from his planet.
No.
It's like a different planet. So it's just coincidence. Whereas like what would be the repercussions of the worlds mixing up or something?
Yeah. And they're like, we're an evil planet. And it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, if you're an evil thing and you come through, wouldn't you, even if you're evil, just be like, what's going on? Like, aren't you confused a little bit? Like,
no,
you just,
yeah. They seem to know everything about Earth, and it's like pretty simple for them to execute their plan. But then they still somehow do it like very slowly.
Yeah.
Where you would think these guys would just kill everybody.
Right. And
he also, as the demon, has so many opportunities to kill the duck.
Yes.
And he doesn't. He even saves the duck from that group of people who's trying to kill him.
That's right.
Granted, he wants to get this like disc back for the laser, but he could have just like had him dead and then taken the thing out of his pocket.
Yeah.
And then when he subdues all those dudes, he's like holding Howard up in the air for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And then he just drops him and leaves.
Yeah.
And he knows Howard's going to come after him, but he just like doesn't care.
Yeah. Another thing that was strange to me was like when Leah Thompson and Tim Robbins are in trouble with the demon, they go, Howard. Like, what is Howard going to do? Like, I know Howard at the end saves the day, but like, are you really relying on Howard the duck to like defeat this otherworldly demon?
Yeah, Tim Robbins, for someone who like works there and should know about stuff, seems like he doesn't know what's going on at all.
He's totally oblivious to everything. He keeps wanting to get Howard on TV, and he's like, we're going to be famous. We're going to get on TV. And I was like, they should have just done that. Yeah. That would have made him.
You would think even if he didn't do that, that word would get out to a larger amount of people that like, hey, there's an alien duck here, and people would try and see him, and they'd have to like put him in a disguise or hide him or something, and that could have been fun.
That could have been a lot of fun. Yeah. And then he's like the world famous duck.
Yeah. Or he maybe just says like, oh, I'm passionate about wearing duck suits. I'm just a guy. And people would be like, okay.
Well, what would be if he, like, you get a little bit of it at the end when he's playing the guitar solo. It's like, he's actually maybe has a potential for a better life here than he did back there. Back there, he was just a copywriter. He was kind of lonely. Over here, he's like, he could be a superstar.
Yeah, that would have been cool if he was like, oh, I'm different here because I'm a duck and I'm getting all this attention. Yeah,
and then there's like a little bit of a conflict. Should I go back home or live here and be a superstar?
Apparently, in the comic books, the original tagline of Howard the Duck was trapped in a world he didn't create. Which is strange because no one creates their own world.
Yeah, he didn't do that with his old world, too.
No.
Yeah.
And then they changed it to trapped in a world he's become accustomed to.
That's the worst tagline ever.
Yeah, because if you become accustomed to something, you're not really trapped.
No. Yeah.
Is there any palate cleanser that you have this week that you watched and enjoyed?
Well, I didn't watch it this week, but I just want to talk about a better duck movie, and that's Babe.
Oh.
Babe has a duck in it.
You forget that it also has a duck in it. You think Babe, pig.
Yeah, right. But there's also a duck, and the duck has a really good duck voice. Very good duck voice casting on that one. So I'm going to recommend Babe.
Nice. What did I see that I haven't already talked about on here? I've been watching this show on Netflix called 4 Seasons. It's like a mini series Tina Fey, Steve Carell are in it, a bunch of other actors, and it's just couples who go on vacation and have all sorts of tension, but it's fun. It's not like a joke comedy. It's more of a drama, but it is funny, and it is like, it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And as someone who's getting older, it's always fun to watch shows and movies about people who are a little bit older than you. And when you're getting older, it's harder and harder to find shows like that. And this is one. 4 seasons. It's well done. And apparently it's a remake. There was a movie 4 seasons starring Carol Burnett that I haven't seen yet, but I want to watch that after.
All right, great. Well, thanks for watching.
Please like and subscribe.
Rate and review, and we'll see you next week.
Hell yeah. Bye.